Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Olivia Wood. Really happy to be here today. Feels like the real world. Yeah, thanks to Anteism, thanks to Metatron. This is a piece called Fear. Labrador pining at the blue night, tethered to the post called language bed. Panting through the blue night, a long arm reclines somewhere. The duck and ran of the evening. A hard slab of butter on the mainland, malady ropes itself coyly in. Quick pop of pleasure at the Crown, the play was performed 6 consecutive nights, extreme success we never imagined. The tub leaking into the basement where, yes, he did die. Did they tell the next tenants? I'm not sure. Picnic under brocade. It's true the silo was painfully full, the seep rife at the bottom, but bad dogs rush in from the house when I stand up from my chair. I'm playing the long game. I'm loose in the limb, manifesting my women. May you always be the sensual, lying in the bluegrass of your in-law's yard, making quiet, permanent suffering sounds on the trundle bed. Your hand holds the river clam as they ekes open on the stair. A PBS documentary about the Dust Bowl means I am building a fortress of impossible suffering. Leave me be. I have transcended time in fear of violence means I am going into town. Would you like anything? Sounds don't care if you say them. Plus, some fears are useful, right? While others are not. Fear, a parameter delimiting some uncertain stretch of grasses. Fear of heights, fear of peeled grapes, fear you'll accidentally bite the head off, fear of balloons, fear itself of enclosure. So I cut the cords, so what? My ship departs, and still I work with butter and clay. Resolutely and awkwardly, I bring the earth with me where I go. I clean with ash, I parachute abstraction, I slick back the network, I repose infrequently. What precarity? What parent? In the list, I find 10 things hard as seeds on the sill and begin to choose. Hope my mom stops texting me. A contract. Will it have been worth the commission, I wonder, heaping the pennies of my early sexuality against the cement of the oscillating shore, tossing the excrement over the side thinking, so unbearable to have been near others. The difference between attention and a vacuum evades me, though. Yet in my sleeping, a contract may arise. The particular shoulders of cattle twitch and fall outdoors in the silver light, some Spartan desire within me compounding quietly, rubbing cogently against the invitation that lies coyly over some arms like an era. Shout out to Lest, an earlier version of that was published in Lest a little while ago. Machine. These the actual juices of the earth, modular and irreverent, cyst on my labia, cyst on the staircase, black in the courtyard, the table, her ceremony, her note, the shard I live in. Late swimming marginalia, her cock limp and hanging. The dead shouldn't be alone. Swaddled in rame, touched with gloves, I don't use her inheritance in order to punish her, but sit on the porch all day and touch the pits of nectarines, and she doesn't pay me any mind. This is my house. Occasionally many things are possible at once. You the actor, I the player. Verbatim. She is born afield, warm leather loose in hand, lapping my usefulness by its median. Ripe passes glut in, her kind and hyperextended thumb signals just a quiet email. Our laugh in the theater takes its pearl in my memory, plinking in the pale, afternoon like a kidney, inside the sky, never out, always serving a red-brown mania for love. Who can blame the turner's careful attention, thinking the leg inside the post verbatim? Monument. Well, what do we do when it dies? With the red floor of death salting its wounds at us, it is good to make penance out of other things. Hardy work, death work, while the red of death oxygenates. The miracle occurs when you name the true thing, like metallic taste of loneliness, or dream which was the weight and texture of a cantaloupe, or the large rattle, rattle, rattle of a curse coming to find you. Well, what do we do when it dies? When it died suffering? If there was take and it was bad? The residents of the town passed their hands over the doors in the afternoon listlessly, one full of dread, one distracted, one whose hands have been newly animated by admiration. The currency of the dead does not ascribe much value to pity. The loose havoc of death touches you, drives down to the quarry, spins the PVC pipe, kisses her first kiss. It's good to make penance out of things. Some would rather try and give back the verbs, tear, get, wreck, abscess, and call it law. But sometimes when death touches you, you become constructed by death, the lake and your orgasm twitching at the shore. Wind. Social as in it is populated. Populated in that it is inhabited. Punctuated because we made monuments and moral fabrics and punishments so severe that they were made pervasive but could not be spoken of or could not be fully understood even in their speaking. Resting was facile and unincorporated. Moneyed as in there were bodies felled, the region exposed to water poisoning, legs abstracted. What are the requirements for demand to exist? Different kinds of numbness pervade each century. It is important to resist ahistorical poetry. People die inside systems and become the sawdust used to alleviate fire risk, to find marginal utility. Others suffocate on shaded cement while a civil servant bears down. Which system of logic and empathy you apply to the system you inhabit says a lot. How is a demand schedule created about your popularity and tax bracket and sex habits and favorite foods and drinks? Things can be made specific as easily as they can be obscured. Define the paradox of value. There was scaffolding put at the base of the river in order to pass very tall trees so that they could later become masts. What is the production possibilities frontier? A face in the black noon, a tone which is clean white and keening towards self-immolation, saying something you felt was beside the point, arms losing feeling in the dumb July air. How is a nation's wealth expressed? How is a nation's wealth expressed? Make me a pillar and flesh me. We expose the liver and wait very patiently on the front lawn, bloodhounds with you moving in me. I suck a strange hand with you living in me. At 20 hertz, it becomes diegetic. Across town, courtside, I tongue gracelessly at the cylinder, pulling and then lodged there. Its interiors pale with use, interiors vague as a passage, interior joking at yours, interior scalped, mounted, overcharged but too shy to count the change, too Anglo to press. Is it true that everything was left scattered in the yard? Hera caked with clay on the pale stage. In the beginning of her disappearance, she was not found. We tore our hair for her cause. We feel secure and empowered when we exercise penitence and self-denial. Steady hand on the kettle, lapel. She was found later in the wings. Feet buried in the coral of it. Hands foreign with the sick of it. Unsure if she could be seen by others. Gesticulate, tick, leak, scream, resume. So we will know our lover by the sound of his voice, by the marvelous kindness that opens up in that strong city. She sheds a layer and falls like a nail to the floor of the harbor. The boys up on the pier cry. The hum of generators on the mainland. Air slung loosely over its rocks. The crux of Eros being that there is a medium with which to conduct. The ocean at night, for example. The air above the spectral riverbed at low tide. A cement lawn which is vaguely Floridian. A face beaming out from the dark woods. A new waste at a gas station. This poem's called Triad, an earlier version published in Bad Nudes. Triad. You are so poor before you. Your town square looms privately day and night. The big ones at their boxing matches, you in your saddle. You neuter no one. You sex no one. You, on the verge of hysteria, have the lac glass beside you, the electrified grid swimming loose at your feet. Beside your nerves, in the triumphant triad, you, yourself, you alone, you know how to access the lucid passage under sex. You will cling to any root. You abscond the proper syntax. Jazz is demilitarizing you. Your fingernails in their nail beds as you breathe. Yes, you breather. You are unkind to your mother. What does pagination have to do with it? With your burning hand, you write on the nature of life. Okay. So the last one I'll read, no title. I'm actually plastered, thinking about the eye of the lens again. Our cinematic time portends what? The sustained eye of the cherry changing its shape for you, who is me, really. Billions of units of flesh desiring and rinsing themselves of desire. A wind to toss my head in. Panopticism, or who's running this venue anyway? Again, am I interested in penance's rodeo? Yeah. Yes, I work out. The tremors of my long thigh in the bathroom while you wait. It happened in Miami with my girlfriends, lost and carrying in a box. Only in America do I say yes to an oblivion like that. That's not true. The world gives me a lot more than I need, kneeling on the line saying, maybe, you tell me. It has them in a K-hole on the stairs, close to a passage out of a bad period in my life. Not for the reasons you would think. I was getting dumber than I wanted to be and so tired all the time. So I decided not to be. Like, oh, you want a good life? Your life is none of your business. As a researcher, I turned the thing over in my hands, pretending, for my purposes, it is an apple. With just my hands to touch its jet surfaces. Feeling the protrusions, its rhythms and investments, its value prop, its cousins' names, its Latin root, my feeling, which is now a part of its nomenclature. Thank you so much.